In today's episode, Krista asks, as a returning mother to the workforce after a few years off, what do I need to know about social media in the context of marketing, communications, and public relations? Well, that's a big question. Probably the most important thing to realize is that social media, depending on when you departed the workforce, back in the old days, say like 2012, 2013, social media was considered a strategy unto itself. It was a thing that you did. It was a discrete set of channels and tactics and methods that you kind of just did. What's changed in the last 5 or 6 years is that social media is now, for good or ill, actually mostly good, part of the integrated marketing mix. It is no longer a thing that stands on its own. It can't stand on its own. The idea of just opening up a Twitter account and posting stuff on it, or just doing videos on Facebook and expecting the world to beat a path to your door, those days are gone. Those days are long gone. Arguably, those days were probably gone when you departed the workforce, if it was around 2014, 2015. But social today is just another channel, another distribution mechanism, another place of interaction for you to be in touch with your audience. And as a result, it has to be a part of your overall digital marketing strategy. It can't stand on its own. Another key part that has changed in the last 5 years especially is the rise of paid social media. So again, for good or ill, social networks have figured out that making money is all about selling ads, and selling ads is all about eyeballs and keeping people on networks. So if you don't have paid as part of your social media strategy, you don't have a functional social media strategy. You must be paying at least some amount of money to amplify your marketing efforts. Social fits in. If you look at the sort of the PR industry likes to call it the peso model: paid, earned, shared, owned. I would argue you could probably put rented in there as a subset, but social now just sort of fits across those different categories. So it is shared media in the sense that you can put stuff out there and it can be shared, or you can share stuff. It is 100% paid. Mentions of your brand and your company are earned. The only thing really social isn't is owned, because you don't own anything in social media. Facebook and Twitter and LinkedIn and YouTube and WeChat and all these different companies own your properties. You are renting essentially from them. You have to approach social from an integrated approach. So what you're doing in social media on the organic side has to reflect what you're doing on the paid side, which has to reflect what you're doing in email, which has to reflect what you're doing on your blog, which has to reflect what you're doing on YouTube, and so on and so forth. One of the most important things to do today, that again was not as much of a thing a few years ago, is everyone has to be rowing in the same direction. Everyone has to be doing relatively the same things. I was part of a campaign a number of years ago where this major automotive brand was promoting their new car, and they paid influencers hundreds of thousands of dollars to promote these things. And yet on their social channels, at the exact same time as they were spending hundreds of thousands of dollars on influencers, they were advertising a completely different vehicle. And so they did not reap the benefit of having an integrated campaign. So integration is key. The other thing that has changed substantially in the last few years is that social media is easier to measure now with the right infrastructure. So if you have proper tag management, if you have proper analytics, if you have a great CRM, if you have good marketing automation software, you can know the impact of social media on things like lead generation, e-commerce sales, even foot traffic with the right attribution. It requires effort, it requires money, it requires knowledge. But it is a knowable thing now, whereas a few years ago, people were still kind of struggling to figure out, how do we measure this thing? Well, we know how to measure this thing now, and social fits very nicely into many of the attribution analyses tools that are available today. Social fits across the customer journey as well now. It used to be it was just a place you went to be loud, right? Or to talk to people or to reply to comments. But when you think about the overall customer journey now and our understanding of the customer journey, that has evolved and social has evolved with it. Awareness, consideration, evaluation, purchase, ownership, loyalty, and evangelism are sort of the overall customer journey. And social media has a role in each of those areas, which also means that someone who is a social media practitioner has to some degree specialize in one of those areas. You need broad knowledge of the entire customer journey and how social media fits into the entire customer journey, but you also need a deep understanding of how social media applies to one portion of the customer journey. How does social apply to loyalty? How does it apply to evangelism? How does it apply to the evaluation process? The final thing I would say is that our understanding of what constitutes social media has evolved as well, particularly as more networks have become paid and social media operates in many cases like a broadcast channel rather than an interaction channel. Our definition of social media has expanded to essentially be anywhere that you and your audience can have a two-way conversation with each other. So that means that a site like, for example, G2 Crowd, you could consider a social network for a very specific set of B2B personalities. YouTube is not only the world's second largest search engine, but it is a social network in its own right. There are social networks, for example, like Steam and Twitch and Battle.net in these video gaming environments where, guess what? Your customers are there. There was an article a number of years ago, World of Warcraft is the new golf course, because people were meeting and playing and beating up internet dragons in an environment of leisure, just like golf is an environment of leisure for some. I personally don't like it because I'm very bad at it. So our definition of social media has expanded substantially to be wherever we can have conversations with people we care about, and wherever we can create content with sharing and network effects built into it. So, for example, your blog really still wouldn't fit under social media because it's very difficult to make a blog's comment section function well. A private forum, absolutely. A Slack channel, a Slack instance, absolutely is 100% social media, and probably some of the most valuable social media today are private networks, because people, I mean, you go on Facebook or whatever, and besides the ads, it's mostly people being angry about stuff. So you have private networks where you get to pick and choose who you associate with in private conversations, from messengers to Slack to all these different private environments. That's social as well. So there's a lot to take into account, but the most important thing is broadening the understanding of what social is, how it works, where it is, and how we measure it. Those are the things that, as a returning mother to the workforce, you'd want to dig into and start studying to catch up as quickly as possible. Be sure to check out all the different conferences and stuff in the space as well. Social Media Marketing World is an excellent one to attend. I'll be speaking there next year. And good luck. And if you have additional questions, please ask them. As always, please subscribe to the YouTube channel and the newsletter, and I'll talk to you soon. If you want help with your company's data and analytics, visit BrainTrustInsights.com today and let us know how we can help you.